Okay, thank you. Minister, would you agree that your government has found itself in a debt crisis?
I do not agree with that statement. No, we have a lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7 and a AAA credit rating by an independent rating organization. And the Bank of Canada is lowering interest rates because of our sound fiscal position.
Would you agree that it's a problem that the government paid more on servicing debt than what was paid in healthcare?
I believe that the very heart of our democracy is about helping the most vulnerable in our country. Pharmacare, dental care, the Canada Child Benefit, and $10 a day childcare supports for seniors. Those are examples of the way you help the most vulnerable in our country, and that is exactly what our government is doing.
Well, it appears to me that all new spending by your government could have been covered by the amount that your government has in fact serviced the debt with. But your government seems to have decided that the only way to solve your debt crisis is to increase the capital gains inclusion rate. Do you not think it would be more effective if you simply created a plan to enforce actual decreases in spending?
I would like to say that there's a philosophical difference between the party of my honourable colleague and our party and the government's role. We believe in helping the most vulnerable in our country and doing that in a fiscally responsible way. At the same time, at the Treasury Board of Canada, I have led a spending review which is on track to find $15 billion over 5 years and $4.8 billion every year thereafter. So we do believe in fiscal prudence. We also believe in helping the most vulnerable in our country.
Yeah, yet your new spending amount this year is actually 3.5 times the amount that you are attempting to find just in this single fiscal year alone. Minister, I'm afraid I disagree with you relative to your position in your government having a debt crisis. I think your government absolutely has a debt crisis, and I think it's evident by the fact that your prime minister has spent more than any other prime minister in history. In fact, your government has spent so much that you had to bring in this job-killing tax. And this is a tax that affects Canadians far beyond what your prime minister has claimed, your deputy prime minister has claimed, and I believe you're claiming here today. It hurts farmers, it hurts healthcare workers, it hurts small businesses. And I know that the deputy prime minister has said that this will only affect 0.013%. So given that confident statement by the Deputy Prime Minister, will you yourself, as the President of the Treasury Board, the individual who's responsible for all of the spending, since I do believe this is a spending problem which has brought your government to bring in this job-killing tax, will you commit today on behalf of your government to bring an amendment to the capital gains tax, ensuring that the 99.08% of Canadians that your government says are not affected by this tax will not be impacted? Will you make that commitment to bringing that amendment today? Minister, please.
I will not be making an amendment suggestion relating to our government's attempt to ensure tax fairness for our country, to ensure that we are helping the most vulnerable. In fact, I would encourage my honourable colleague, if you truly care about the most vulnerable in our country, perhaps vote in favour of items like dental care for all, child care, benefits, as well as pharmacare. Those are initiatives that will help Canadian families and in fact have enabled 85% of women between the ages of 25 and 45 to join the workforce post-pandemic. Making the tax system fair for all generations is a priority for our government, and we will continue to execute on that priority.
Yeah, thank you for that, Minister. Minister, if you will not listen to me, will you possibly consider the words of your predecessor, the Honourable Scott Bryson, who of course sat in your seat, is very esteemed, who recently referred to the higher taxation and bigger government you and your government have created as socialist bafflegap, and that it reflects the sort of advice offered to ministers who don't know any better. Would you promise to the committee today that you will consider the words of your predecessor, please?
What I will continue to do in this position and any other is to ensure that I'm representing my constituents as well as serving the people of Canada in my role as the Treasury Board President. That means executing on our government's responsibilities and prudently managing the public purse, and we will continue to do this with initiatives like the Refocus Government Spending Initiative that I mentioned earlier. Again, there's a philosophical difference between the party opposite and our government, and our government will continue to stand up for Canadians, Canadian families, Canadian workers,
I
as
agree.
well
There is a
as senior
philosophical
citizens.
difference, Minister. You will not commit on behalf of your government. You will not listen to your predecessors, but will you commit today that you will include in your platform, in your leadership bid, as you go and attempt to be the leader of your party, that you will include an exemption for these individuals I've mentioned with the capital gains tax? Will you commit that today?
I would like to refute the premise of the question, Mr. Chair. There is no such initiative underway that my honorable colleague is mentioning. In fact, it is quite preposterous that you are mentioning that in this committee when I am here to testify about the work of the Treasury Board of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you.